Evening. This is the Planning and Development Committee meeting, calling it to order at 6:05 p.m. Tonight on our agenda, a couple of things that we're planning to talk about is trash, in particular trash cans that are being left on the street or in right-of-ways due to the inability of homeowners due to age, handicap, location to move it back up to the house, and then also with this new trash contract that we're getting ready to enter into, getting the trash trucks out of the alleyways and how trash collection will work with that, how we'll handle exemptions, special needs, and whatnot. So one of the things that we've proposed or are talking about is for homes that are on streets that don't have driveway access or even sidewalk access to be able to take your trash can from the street back up to your house, creating an application process for you to apply for a waiver so that you're not in violation of city code for that. And I believe the code enforcement officer and our city manager, Mr. Frank, have kind of looked at what streets that will be and how that will work. So I know, like, one of the things, Scott, that we talked about, for instance, like Pleasant View Drive, where those houses don't have really any good way to get their trash cans from the street back up to their houses, which are all on a hillside. One of the things we talked about there too that complicates the problem is because they don't have driveways, because you don't have driveways there, you're also parking on the street. And when the trash truck comes through, sometimes people have their trash can out, but a car has now parked in front of the trash can, making it difficult for them to even access the trash can to empty it. So I think in that instance, and Scott, you can pipe in here, is we've talked about maybe creating a staging area, if you will, for those trash cans at one spot on the street. So maybe, I think we were talking about towards Fort Street, creating an area where everyone could put their trash cans.
So what we looked at in that particular instance, so we just put a no parking sign in there because folks were parking all the way back down to Fort Street, which made it impassable for normal cars and obnoxious dualies. But
Is that a dig?
yes. Anyway, with that said, it was a real problem. So the no parking signs up here, maybe 50 feet in from Fort Street. If we painted an area there for folks to put their trash cans there, marked it off that way, it would help keep people from parking there, and it would give everybody a place to put their trash cans that's in the same area. And there's a couple other places we could do that as well. But if I may, on some of the other exemptions. So the other exemptions is East Franklin Street, the hill. It's very challenging for those folks to put their trash can somewhere. It's always been a problem for them. They generally leave it on the steps because the hillside's so steep. The ones going up, that is, on the left-hand side. And on Jefferson Street, those folks, a good majority of them have garages. However, I've looked through there and I don't see their trash cans. Maybe I missed it, but they seem to have it figured out as far as how they do it over there. And there was another place that I'm losing right now. But so we have had a few people call in that will be impacted by moving them out of the alleys and into the streets. And particularly one lady I talked to, she has a retaining wall in front of her house, which there's no way to get to the street unless she goes through her neighbor's yard significantly. So in that scenario, I told her that there shouldn't be any problem getting her the exemption so she can leave her can in place for now. And I think it's really about all I had.
I just think we need to be really careful not to dictate to everybody, okay, now you have to take your trash and run it down to that square that we painted to put your trash can in. I mean, things could happen with those. They could get stolen. People could dumpster dive in them more, people could set fires in them. I just don't know if that's a good idea to take a whole neighborhood and say, you have to roll your trash can down there. I have a lot of problems with it, actually. The alleys, I mean, I've had a lot of comments, and people are just upset about it, and, I mean, maybe
See,
if,
I've also had a lot of positive feedback of people saying, yes, we need to get these trash trucks out of the alleys. They're ruining the alleyways. Johnny Meeks, for one, is, has been very vocal about that, the alleyway behind his house is, basically sunk all the way down in.
You didn't want the drug guy to.
well, the good
And then-
comments aren't the problem, though.
Well, but, I mean, I think there has to be some give and take on this. So like, I mean, Pleasant View, for instance, it becomes a problem. There are trash cans everywhere. And then you have people trying to park and they can't really get over to park because
That's a narrow road, yeah.
there's trash cans. Like I said, we've had issues with the trash trucks saying that they come up from trash collection day and you put your trash can out and then someone has come in and parked in front of it. Or like, so this is your trash can and then someone comes in and parks here.
So
And
does
now they
anyone
can't get to it.
talk to the people up there to see what they think about taking their trash cans all down to a square?
No, I haven't gone up there and talked to them. They leave them out on the street as it is now. So it would, meaning they're there anyway. It would just standardize how they have them. So it wouldn't change as far as their can being on the street, but instead of being directly in their house, it could be off to their left. I think there's only 4 houses up there, possibly 5, that would be impacted. And we could split that on 2 sides, or we could even do it in the middle. It doesn't matter.
And actually, I think one of them has an alcove already cut out that they keep their trash cans in.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not that many
What about all
houses.
the problems with the alleys, though? I mean, what could we, like, she was saying, like we was all saying, there needs to be a little give and take. So what could you suggest? Because if we pass a code tonight, I didn't realize that was actually in there, that we could not do alleys. I mean, what are we gonna do with all the other people that are so upset?
I'm just gonna say, like, we're not passing anything tonight. We're trying to come up with a solution.
No, it's
That code
7, I mean.
enforcement, because as it stands right now, a lot of people are out of compliance with code as it is, and they could be fined, I believe, because they're leaving their trash cans out all the time. And code says that after trash day, you're supposed to remove your trash can and put it away. What we're trying to do is find some kind of middle ground, especially for some of these streets that we've talked about, keep using Pleasant View as an example, but where that's not possible, or Franklin Street, East Franklin Street Hill, where they have nowhere to take their trash can, because they either don't have driveways, it's on a hill. So I think the question, for that, it's a lot easier, that solution. The alleyway, I think since Scott and I have talked about this, that, we need to go look at some of these and see like how far it might be for people to roll to the end of the street if they really can't get it to the front of their house.
Most of those lots are 125 feet long, if I recall correctly. No, that's lengthwise, not widthwise. They have multiple lots. They can stack it up that way. I guess the ones that are unhappy, the ones that can't get it to the street, those are the ones that, we're going out and case by case making the exception for them. The other folks, I know there's one particular guy that he's said it multiple times that instead of 5 feet, now he's got to go 85 or 100 feet, something like that. And it's just not okay in his eyes.
So what if your exceptions, what if you find there is no other option, it has to be in these alleys? What does that mean? Because you said it's in the contract, we're doing away with alleys, except for exceptions. I guess I'm trying to find out where that line is. What will you
Sure.
accept? And
Well, so the one I've gone and looked at already, the lady had no access clearly to the street with the retaining wall in front of her house because it went past her property lines on both sides onto her neighbor's property. So there was literally physically, it's like one of the houses on Jefferson Street. There's just no way to, and I still don't know how those people do their trash, but there would be no way to take a trash can from Jefferson Street and go and drop it off the retaining wall at the end.
you mean they will go up there and get her trash? Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir. Or ma'am, sorry.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that we've also had mentioned is in those alleyways, you need to be able to have, street numbers so you can see, what is a house, what is, maybe something that's not part of a house, and a way to know that people are paying for trash service for that.
So that's where you and I talked once before, and I think it would be a good idea for whoever the exceptions are, we have some sort of labeling, whether it be a sticker or something else that we find, but somehow to identify that can as paid for, and we actually looked it over, and we're also going to be providing the list of addresses, which is a challenge in itself, but to the drivers specifically which locations they'll be stopping.
See, I think that will be hard. Like for the drivers, I mean, I think that will be
Hopefully the
a challenge.
Well, like you said with the sticker.
Point of
However,
order though, are they gonna use smaller trucks on the alleys?
we actually haven't talked too much about the alleys as far as what they're going to use on there. They do have a smaller truck. They're planning on being in town 4 days a week, and so they're going to change up the entire schedule. I don't know what the schedule is going to look like yet, but instead of Monday and Tuesday being trash pickup days residential, I know they're going to spread it out. They have a couple reasonings for doing that. That way they're always in town, so if they have a miss, kind of like yours the other day, they can just zoom right over there and get it. They're also going to be doing the dumpsters for the commercial and recycling. So as soon as I get that list or their schedule, then hopefully that'll show where they're going to be. So what I mean by, or so in addition to that, I don't know if the alleys are going to be just one day where they take a small truck and do all the alleys, which would be different than everyone else, which would be my
That would work.
right, the ones that we've identified, and so.
I mean, so to me, this is two issues, right? It's the issue of the homes on streets where they don't have, where they can't put their trash cans away. So again, the East Franklin Street, the Pleasant Views, those streets, and where we're going to create, like a system where, like a staging area or a sticker or something for them. That's one issue. Because those people who aren't technically in compliance with code, due to, how their house is. The alley issue, to me, is a separate issue. It becomes more challenging because if you give exceptions, like, because my neighbor has a retaining wall in front of her house, so she doesn't have to take hers out, why do I have to roll mine around to the front? If you're coming along to pick hers up too, then why can't you just pick mine up? And I think that's something that we really need to think about and figure out the solution. And I fully understand the action that we want to get these big trucks out of our alleyways because of the destruction they're doing. But does it really make a difference if we're still going to have them coming along collecting trash in alleyways? Why not just collect everybody's trash in the alleyway?
Well, if they have a small truck, I mean, they could, I mean, like I said, you gotta find that fine line between really dictating, you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that, and to people that really can't, and to making everything look nice, like Elizabeth said, you don't want trash just sitting around everywhere.
Can I just add a point of clarification?
Sure.
It was the utility committee that did that, not me.
Oh.
I just want to make sure.
Sitting right
Why?
there.
I just want to make sure that it was a group effort. I mean, definitely I was a part of it, and I'm all for getting it out of the alleys. But it wasn't my final, decision.
You told us you were gonna kick our ass.
Yes.
You did not say that.
But I do believe the transition. So, I don't know if the public has heard. I've shared with as many people who listen. The idea is, especially with the city doing their own billing, is we'll be able to build a sanitary fund. And with the sanitary fund, we can do things like buy totes, the big rolling totes for everybody in the city, just like all the other cities around us. That, well, I don't know anywhere else that does individual trash cans other than Nelsonville, but I'm sure there are. And but get the big totes, but they're no cost to the people, where we can actually purchase those with that sanitary fund, and we can also provide a recycled one as well. So then that would be no cost to the citizens, And then if you have the roller one, it would be significantly easier to get out front if you don't have a roller one now. Excuse me. And it's also easier for the hauler at that point to use automation, where automation won't work necessarily in the alley. So it's just a long-term strategy to keep costs down, is how I'm thinking about it.
So what did the utility committee come up with a plan for, like, after it goes into effect and it's just not working for some people? Do we have a plan?
That's just the one, the by exception that we talked about.
So
Yeah,
basically, the
no.
alleys are getting destroyed, like the trash trucks off the alleys. It doesn't do us any good if we still put a big truck, like Elizabeth said, down an alley, and they're picking up these guys' trash, why can't they pick up ours? Unless they got a smaller, like a pickup truck, and just collected a couple in the alley and treat them like handicap parking stickers. You know?
Because you do have to treat people with respect. I mean,
You do. You do. So you take it to case by case basis, and if they're handicapped or if they can't get it to the front, then a special sticker could be bought, to be picked up in the alley, just like a handicap parking spot. But you know, that way, if they ran down there with a pickup truck and only had to pick up 2 or 3 customers, that makes sense. But not to pick up everybody in the alley. That's all. Why?
So the bottom line we're looking at now is there's no alleys unless you call Scott and set something up,
Correct.
correct?
Mainly Becky, but yeah, I can definitely take the call
Well,
as well.
City Hall, call City
Sure.
Hall,
I'll gladly talk to anyone.
and we need to get that out there.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing, so the special council meeting tonight has been the only holdup. So the hauler and us, we have the all the forms to go out for people to sign up if they want to bin, and then the instructions and everything else and expectations and all that other stuff.
So you say you're mailing something out, or?
Yes, well, it'll be social media and mailing. So social media will be right away, but it'll also mail out flyers to folks.
So could we, if there is gonna be something mailed, is there something we could include with that to state, you know, all these issues? Well, like if you have an issue and the number to call?
Absolutely.
Because
We'll put
a
it
lot
on
of
the
people
flyer.
don't do social media, they might not watch these meetings, I don't know.
Sure.
And if you don't watch social media, I mean, I guess how do you know? So if it could go in the mail, that would probably be really helpful.
Absolutely. It's on the flyer that they have. So it was a joint effort between us and Athens Hockey and Recycling. Mainly Athens Hockey and Recycling, but we had our input on it as well. So that is absolutely going to be on there.
The other thing that we need to talk about, we're hoping to get this done pretty soon, is camping. And with camping, so a couple of things is, you know, not allowing, having specific code in place so that people aren't living in a camper on the street, aren't, you know, living in campers or tents and
Setting up
driveways.
tents in the yards and living.
Well, right, I mean, outside of, you know, maybe 72 hours for your kids to have a weekend sleepover kind of thing, but that, but also the idea of potential business plans for primitive or camping within the city limits, and needing to have some, I guess, code in place for a campground within the city limits. So
I had a few.
yeah, I know
questions
you
about
had
it.
a few things, so did you wanna?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, so it's private property, right? So we don't really have a whole lot of say about it, is that correct? Or how does that work?
Which part? Not if it's a business, not if you wanna open a campground
Okay, so there are state laws.
Yeah, there's a lot of state laws about that, yeah.
Okay, so I guess the couple things I was worried about was, being right there on the river, the amount of litter that it could create and nobody picks up. I think we would need actual physical with water restrooms if there's gonna be a lot of people staying there.
All state.
Yeah, those are all in state health regulations. Things about gray water, wastewater.
What about campfires in the city? Everybody wants a campfire when you're camping, you gotta roast
Well,
marshmallows.
usually in campgrounds, they have,
Fire
maybe
pit.
an expert on it, because I freaking traveled this country, lived in an RV for years, building airports. So, but every campground I ever went into, they did have little burn rings.
So we're allowed to have those then. And
As our code exists right now, I wish Becky was here, but, I know we do have ordinance against
So
open fires in the city.
so any campfire now is required to have a permit issued by the fire department. It's no cost to the citizen. Basically, they come out and just make sure the fire ring's far enough away from the house, source of putting it out and so forth. Now, I do believe there are certain receptacles that you can get a permanent permit on, as long as it's not movable, but, it may not be 100% accurate, and I also know that you can do burn barrels in town as long as it has a lid on it. So,
so,
sorry, not a lid, but a grate. Sorry, a grate.
So,
if they're gonna be doing camping, and it's a business, but it's also a campground, is someone going to like staff it at night in case there's like rowdiness problems or any kind of issues going on? Will that be staffed by
some
someone?
individual.
I believe that's also in the state, the rules, if you will, from the state on a campground, that you have to have like somebody there
Emergency call?
all the time. But I also agree with that, especially if it's going to be along a river that's potentially in the floodway, that, having somebody who's on site in case of like a flash flood warning coming along, that those are things that we need to make sure is addressed.
And make sure there's nothing, going to damage the river, like lots of
Mhm.
trash and this and that.
Yes.
Like the homeless camps.
Yeah, the inner tube's going down.
Right. So I think that those are, I mean, I've read through some of the state requirements. I've been wanting to talk to the health department. Unfortunately, they're really busy right now with the COVID vaccine rollout and everything, so it's been hard to get anybody really available to talk about that at this point, but I'm hoping that that's something we can do so that we fully understand.
I do know you have to have bathroom facilities, you have to have shower facilities, you have to have dump station, because whether you have full hookups or not, they do have holding tanks. And, for gray water
Planning and development.
and black water, which is your dishwasher and your bath water and your, toilet water.
Yeah. Now,
So they're, so you have to have a dump station when they leave, so they can empty their tanks.
I guess I was thinking primitive was more
well,
tense.
yeah, I think that what has been maybe bantered about so far is just tent camping. But I think Dan's making a good point. It's very easy to go from one type to another. And again, as this area in our town in particular continues to kind of expand into the, drawing in more people for the outdoor things, that this will become a bigger issue. And so we need to be ahead of it, as we do it. But I agree, like, you need to have real restrooms with flush toilets, running water, shower facilities. So, not just porta johns for that. You need to have someone who's there overnight, like a night watch person, particularly if it's along a river and in a floodway for that, you know,
So is that like a code, something we
that
have
would
to
be a
write?
code,
Or,
that will be a code.
so we would actually have to do that?
Somebody would, yes.
Well, I'm in the
Well,
city.
yes, the city would, and I know that planning commission has also been talking about camping and crafting code for camping, but planning commission hasn't met for a while, and it's March 1st, and we wanna kind of keep this ball
I
rolling.
think we need to address the tents
Yeah.
as our main concern in the city, because of the homeless that just set up tents in yards. And people go, oh yeah, hey man, just put a tent up right beside
Yeah.
here and run an extension cord out, you're good. So,
And-
we could always address the
So we're
campground
working on
issue.
that too, or just the?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
right.
right now, Scott, am I wrong? And again, I wish Becky was here, that we have code, don't we, existing that says you can't have a tent?
So our code right now is mostly tied to motorhomes or campers.
Okay.
And if you run anything in them to make them permanent, like if you hook up the electricity to them or, run gas to them, any indicators that it's a permanent home or living in it, then that's, not okay. The gray area, I'll tell you specifically where this even spurred from, where the old
Yeah.
carry out on the right hand side.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
Canal Street, yep,
Yep, I mean, they had a tent that just hung out there
yep,
all summer long.
Yeah.
And that's where this discussion came about, because it's actually a bigger problem, or not a bigger problem, but there's tents other places around the city as well, so.
Remember up there on Cherry Street where the homeless made a big camp up there and Johnson wouldn't go in and kick them out, and then finally they got removed and they left behind this big mess. There was human waste, full of pails, just all kinds of nasty stuff up there that we had to clean up.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's different, my, nephews are Boy Scouts, and they wanna have a sleepover in the backyard on Saturday night, so you're gonna erect a camp or a tent for 48 hours to have your kids sleep outside, but when it exists for
Living.
weeks, and it's obvious that
More than
people
2
are
days.
living, are making it a residence, then that, yeah, is the issue, and we need to address that, because again, a lot of them, even though you might have put that tent in this, next to this property, you don't necessarily have access to the property to use the bathroom, to wash things, or using their trash, and it becomes very cluttered and dirty.
Specifically down on the riverbank where people are setting up the shelters now.
Yeah.
Most of the people that own property down there are trespassing them now, meaning that's the way they get rid of them. But it's always, as Dan has mentioned a couple times now, it is a mess, and our folks go in there and clean it up.
Yeah, I see it when I use the bike path, like, you often see the remnants of someone who's been sheltering along the river. And
Oh, what are those called? Trail cams? Is that the name of those?
Trail cams,
The camp?
they'll just steal.
well, and also, at what length are you
I
gonna
had
go
trail
like,
cams at the Eagles building, they stole.
to try to identify who these people are, if they're transient, to locate them, to find them or whatever. It's easier if we create, something where Becky has the ability to go in there with the police department or whoever to say, you have to pack up and go because you're in violation of our city code.
Well, she does that with
Yeah.
the homeless camps, because
Right.
she just trespasses them
Right.
and they have to pack up and leave. But, as far as somebody setting up a tent next to me, yeah, man, just put a tent right outside my house here, it's cool.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
still there.
That's the challenge.
Right. And listen, I'm sympathetic, and I know we all are sympathetic to the plight of people who don't have a home to live in. But, we also have to have a structure within our city that protects, our neighborhoods and our homes and in our community.
I may add, just for you guys, and then also the folks at home, when we go to those places and move the homeless folks around, just know that they are offered services at the Athens homeless shelter, and we've even offered to take some of them down there. I know the police have specifically, and no one yet has taken us up on our offer. So it's more than just tearing down these camps. We are offering services at the same time, and we even partnered with the prosecutor there for a while. And I think just because of winter, we've slowed down, but their person goes along with us to offer recovery services, yeah, drug help and all that. So I don't want everyone at home just thinking that we're going around and just pushing people around, because that's not the case at all. You know, we have to enforce the rules that when people want to trespass them. However, we're offering assistance at the same time. Just no one's taken us up on it yet.
And I think like the kind of wording that we'd be looking for some of this would be like camping on, obviously, it's unlawful to camp on public property, you know, in streets and parks, whatever, within the city. But then camping on private property would be unlawful without written permission of the owner and for more than like, let's say 72 hours. Then that would become, you know, an issue.
I would think just deleting like a 48-hour deal if kids want to camp out in the backyard.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like
70
72
days
because
better.
I'm just thinking like you think like Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend,
Yeah.
you know, and your kids are having or so, you know, or even your nieces and nephews are coming in town to have a, you know, a family get together. I think 72 hours is a reasonable time frame.
Yeah.
For that. I think after 72 hours, that's when we're looking at, you know, this isn't just, yeah. So.
Because kids love to camp, even if it is in the backyard.
Only if it has Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But you're about right now, we know today.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as long as they take it down, then, I mean, and you know, so the excuse is, well, we're just going to camp next weekend. Well, you need to take it down and then put it back up.
Well, and I know this is true. I mean, I know that there was at one point, I don't know if this person was attending Hocking College or was a faculty member at Hocking College, but they had a rolling
She was
camper, yeah. And you know, she would just sometimes like, you know, show up on your street in front of your house and be there for a couple days. You know, so I think that's something else
well, yeah.
that we would address. You know, maybe again, you know, think about that like different, right? Grandma and grandpa are driving through here on their way to Snowbird in Florida, and they're gonna park in your driveway for a couple of days to visit. But at that point, maybe it becomes you have to come over to the city and get like a permit, a voucher that you put in the windshield of the camper that says, you know, you can be there from this date to this date. And then that way, if any of our police officers drive by and see this thing on the street and it's clear there's an extension cord running to it or something, that they know that
That's a good idea.
it's allowed.
Yeah, because another example was a motorhome on Columbus Street, across from the American Legion, that was just parked there. That they had a propane cylinder. I don't know how big it was, but it was probably 5 feet tall and really big around. And then they were running an extension cord out of a house. They were clearly not temporary. So, but the idea of allowing somebody to come in and get a pass, I think that's a really good idea. You know, whatever you guys want to set it to, 3 or 5 days, you know, or a week, whatever. But that way they can put it in there, and if anybody sees it, they know.
Well, I like the discretionary part. Like she said, if someone's driving through once every 10 years and they're going to stay for a week or two, as compared to
Then they can
someone
go to a
living
campground.
in a tent.
Well, that's true. I think there's a difference. So what I was talking about more was, you know, not me because my family's here, but you know, grandma and grandpa are driving through. Like I said, you know, they live in Connecticut and they're going out west to Arizona for the winter. They're going to stop by and spend a week, park their RV in my driveway.
Right.
Are they going to plug in or are they going to stay in your house?
Well, it
Well,
doesn't
maybe
matter.
both.
Yes, it does matter.
Yeah, but I think that we should have, you know, we need to be reasonable and
Right.
allow people some, you know, autonomy to live their lives the way they want to. And if that's like staying in their camper because, you know, they don't get along
Don't
with
wanna
my,
burden their
yeah,
children,
their
yeah.
Well,
son-in-law,
that's why there will be
you know.
campgrounds in the area.
but, you know, so I think that we're all on the same page about that.
I've been in several places where they do the temporary permits
Yeah.
for folks doing that.
Yeah.
It always works out great.
Okay, well, I think I've got some start for some language to share with Becky to try to get some kind of code drafted around that.
Yeah, 'cause it'll be,
Yeah, that's it. It's March
Warm weather
1st.
soon.
It's like, you know, it's happening, but you know, whether we want to do or not, hopefully. So the other thing we had, which was really Justin is leading that, is the ATV friendly. So I think we're gonna have to skip that tonight, just because Justin couldn't be here. Something I've thought, and I want to bring up is more looking at political signs. So we don't have anything in code right now that says like political signs need to be taken down after an election.
I
So
thought
we
that
got-
was a law anyway, so.
They got taken off the books. We got schooled on it as well.
Okay.
There's nothing you can do about it. The laws that used to be on the books have been taken off, and now it's their First Amendment rights. They can say anything.
Really?
So with both candidates after the last election, the F-bomb and then whatever candidate you wanted or didn't want followed, and we couldn't do anything at all about it. So
Really, there's nothing, because I know that there, I mean, places where I used to live, and maybe, you know, I don't know, like, you could put up a political sign, but then like after the election, like it had to come down within
So many days.
so many
yeah.
days
that's how the rules used to be here.
post-election. So you're saying that that is
Right.
not,
When did that happen?
I'm not sure the date. I know I was trained exactly the way you guys are talking about by Miss Sickles back in the day.
yeah,
But Gary Hunter corrected us on it because
okay.
we got multiple complaints where they were saying the F-bomb and
There was
then,
profanity used in one of the campaign signs.
Oh,
well, multiple, both sides. I mean, there was one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's multiple with the F-bomb out there and it's
That
out
should be
there.
a nuisance, you should be able to get rid of
yeah,
things
that's
like
that's
that.
people's First Amendment right.
Yes.
That's your right to
It
free
doesn't
speech.
come under nuisance law being, what if little children see it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think those.
You're more than
7
welcome to take it up
words.
Gary Hunter, but he
Yeah, I don't
shot
think-
us down.
Yeah, I don't think those 7 word things exist anymore, right? It's you know. So okay, well, that was one other thing. Do you have anything else?
I was just looking at the camping thing now.
Yeah. So aside from that, I think that we'll, again, if you're out there or know somebody out there, who you feel that they don't have the ability to get their trash can to the street for some reason, you need to call in and talk to Becky Barber, code enforcement, so we can talk about that. But we also want to remind people that it is not the trash company's job to walk to your back door and take your trash can to the street to empty it on trash day. Like, you should be taking it to the curb, if you have the ability to do that. If you don't have the ability, we need you to call the city so we can talk to you and try to develop a plan so that your trash doesn't get missed with that. So,
There was a question about the stickers.
uh,
I mean, the question is if they have to pay for it. I would think that if we're going to set that sanitary fund aside, we would be able to supply those.
Yeah, I don't think we should charge for sticker,
Yeah.
right?
I don't think so either, but that's your folks.
I think at
decision.
one point when we were just gonna do it when like we weren't going to be involved with the trash servicing at all, that we talked about doing a small fee, but I think at this point we can forego the fee part of that. So, what is the thing about
They said,
potholes? Well,
they
probably
said
when it
when's the
stops
city gonna
snowing.
start fixing the potholes? The potholes are a train wreck after all the plowing
Yeah.
we've been doing. So we have some cold patch. So for everybody's understanding, cold patch is a temporary fix. It's not meant to be permanent, and we are using it in certain areas. The majority of the patching will get done as soon as the asphalt plant's open, which we could get lucky, and it could be as soon as this month, at the end of the month, or it could be potentially April. So, but as soon as they get open, if we can start patching correctly, Again, we've got the asphalt grinder that goes on the front to actually grind them down and do it correctly. And the new asphalt trailer got here. We got new tooling and plenty of tack to, put the tack down first before the asphalt and seal around the edges when done. So,
I'm reading that question above, which I think is a little different, which is my neighbor takes care of his own trash, does he still have to pay if he has no trash? And it's my understanding that yes, that if you live in the city and and have water and sewer or whatever, you will be charged for trash. Right?
I understand.
Yes, that is our intention. So yes, you will still pay for trash. So whether he puts a can out or not, he's going to be charged. All right, so I think that's it. So at this point, we're going to adjourn. This at 6:46. We do have a special council meeting that will be starting at 7 p.m. If you would like to join us again then. Thank you.